There's something about still water that unsettles people. Maybe it's the silence, or maybe it's knowing how easily the calm can hide what's beneath. This story was sent in by a man named Eli, who says he'll never fish again after what he saw one weekend at Lake Merrow, a quiet fishing spot deep in the forests of northern Minnesota. Eli was 34, an easygoing outdoorsman who fished every summer since childhood. He'd planned this trip to get away from city noise, just him, his old pickup, a tent, and his fishing rod. He arrived at Lake Merrow on a Friday afternoon. The place was almost deserted. Only 2 other trucks sat near the treeline, probably other anglers. He set up camp by the shoreline. The air smelled of pine and rain. As the sun dropped behind the trees, the lake turned dark like glass. That's when he noticed the boat. About 50 yards offshore, an old aluminum boat drifted slowly across the water. There was someone sitting in it, a man, perfectly still, wearing a dark jacket and cap. Ili vivid. No response. Eli shrugged it off. Maybe the guy was just focused. But something about how motionless he was, it didn't feel right. As night fell, Eli cooked dinner by his fire and turned in early. Someone was moving out there on the lake. Next morning, Eli decided to go out on the lake himself. He rented one of the rowboats left by the ranger station and pushed off into the mist. It was the man, eyes wide open, floating just below the surface, staring right up at him. 2 rangers arrived within minutes. When they returned with him to the lake, the sun had climbed higher. No fog, clear water. But the sunken boat was gone. Eli swore he saw that face. He even showed the rangers where. But the lake was deep, muddy at the bottom. Maybe your eyes played tricks on you, one ranger said. Eli packed up and left that evening. But 3 days later, the story broke on local news. A fisherman's body was found washed up 2 miles down the shore. Identified as Mark Weaver, missing since the previous weekend. Eli froze when he saw the photo. It was him, the same man in the boat. The same face beneath the water. Police said Mark's boat had capsized during a storm the previous week. They never found his body until now. But here's what haunts Eli the most. He saw that man alive on the lake 2 nights after Mark Weaver was confirmed dead. To this day, Lake Merrow is closed to campers during the fall. Too many accidents. And if you stand by the shore after midnight, locals say you'll still see that lonely boat drifting through the fog, waiting for someone to notice it again. Some places just feel wrong, even before anything bad happens. This next story comes from a man named Travis, who swears what happened to him and his brother in the summer of 2012 still keeps him awake whenever it rains. Travis and his younger brother, Luke, had rented an old fishing cabin along the Elk River in West Virginia. They wanted a quiet weekend, beer, campfire, and trout fishing. The cabin sat half a mile from the nearest dirt road, isolated except for the slow, brown-green current behind it. Inside, the place smelled of damp wood and mildew. An old sign over the fireplace read, "Gone fishing since '83." They laughed, unpacked, and spent the first afternoon pulling catfish from shallows. That night, Luke noticed something strange. He pointed his flashlight toward mid-river. See that? Something large moved just beneath the surface. Not fast, just gliding. They figured maybe a log had come loose upstream. But when Travis shined the beam again, the log turned. 2 round shapes reflected light, like eyes. Something large moved just beneath the surface. Not fast, just gliding. They figured maybe a log had come loose upstream. But when Travis shined the beam again, the log turned. 2 round shapes reflected light, like eyes. Whatever it was watching them. The shape slipped under and vanished. They locked up for the night, uneasy but laughing it off. At 1 a.m., Travis woke to a soft scrape outside the cabin wall. He grabbed the flashlight and peeked through the window. Nothing but darkness and the glint of river water. In the morning, Luke stepped out first, then froze. Along the cabin siding were 3 long gouges, deep and parallel, like something with claws had dragged across. They argued. Maybe a bear? but the tracks led straight from the riverbank to the wall, then back again. No bear swims across moving water, scratches a cabin, and leaves. By noon, they were fishing again, pretending it hadn't happened. Travis cast deep toward a dark bend in the river. The line tugged hard. He pulled, thinking he'd snagged a big catfish. Then the line jerked back so violently the rod nearly flew from his hands. Something yanked under the boat. When Travis reeled up, the hook came out bent, like someone had pulled it open with pliers. Luke said quietly, "That wasn't a fish, man." That night, a thunderstorm rolled in. Rain hammered the tin roof while the brothers drank by lantern light. Around midnight came a knock. A single, wet tap on the cabin door. They froze. "Who's out there?" Travis shouted. Silence. Then, from behind the door, a voice. Hoarse, gurgling like someone speaking through water. "Help me, it took my boat." Luke grabbed the rifle by the wall and inched forward. Travis pulled the bolt latch. Nothing outside, just rain and river mist. They searched with flashlights. No footprints, no boat, just ripples spreading from the shoreline, as if something had just slipped beneath. At dawn, fog rolled thick over the water. Travis went to retrieve their bait bucket. It was gone. In its place lay a trail of wet mud leading into the trees, and something else. A footprint, but not human. Long, webbed, with deep claws digging into soil. Luke whispered, "We're leaving." Now, they packed in silence, but when they reached the truck, Luke realized he'd left his phone in the cabin. He ran back. Minutes passed. Then came a scream. Travis sprinted toward the sound. Behind the cabin, near the waterline, the river churned violently, foam and bubbles rising. He saw Luke's flashlight floating, beam flickering underwater. Then, a hand shot up from the river. Luke's hand. Something pulled it down. Rescue teams combed the area for 2 days. They found Luke's boot lodged between rocks downstream. Divers said visibility was nearly zero. The riverbed was littered with old nets, debris, and holes big enough to crawl into. They never found a body. Travis moved away months later. He doesn't fish, doesn't camp, doesn't talk about that cabin. But locals know the legend of the Elk River. They say something ancient lives under the current, something that hunts in the storms. And when the rain starts to fall on that cabin's roof, sometimes you can still hear a voice by the water, whispering, "Help me." If this story made you shiver, hit like, drop a comment with the scariest thing you've seen on the water, and make sure to subscribe for more true horror stories every week. Stay safe out there, and whatever you do, don't go night fishing.